Hey you, welcome to my channel, A Year and a Day. My name is Jenny and November was fun. After a few hectic months, which included saying goodbye to my day job and getting married, November provided some room to breathe. With a new day job on the horizon, these were my last weeks of freedom. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. With loads of day trips, creative projects and meeting up with friends. My husband drove me to my favorite part of the Netherlands, Drenthe, for a visit to a small village of Orvelte. This is a car-free village filled with old farmhouses, a flock of sheep and my favorite ever crystal shop. From the horizon to the place we met. Oh, we spent a lovely day there and I want to tell you all about it. So let's move to my table and have a chat about my favorite things in November. So here we are. I once again will try to record this video in a little bit of a different way than I am used to. Usually I record everything separately, so I write down my thoughts, structure the story I want to tell, and eventually I will film everything and then do the voiceover. Right now I'm trying to do everything at once. Which is still a bit of a difficult process for me. But I'm trying and I'm learning and I'm practicing, so hopefully this will be at least a little bit entertaining. So I already regret starting to record this at this moment because it is a little past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here. It's already getting dark outside. It is winter time. The days are cold and grey. The lighting is terrible, so I hope everything will be visible. But worse, I am surrounded by stuff that I want to show and chat about, so I don't know how long it will take me to show you everything. But let's just start and see where we end up. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was a lovely memory from the month of November. As you could see at the start of this video, I visited my favorite place in the Netherlands, which is the province of Drenthe. Drenthe is a province in the north of the Netherlands and it's a very green part of the Netherlands. It's also a very lovely combination of forest and old school Dutch landscapes. I think it's one of the most beautiful parts of the Netherlands myself. So I try to visit Drenthe as often as I can, at least a few times a year. And there is this one area in particular that I really love. There's this little town called Orvelte. It's a really old school village. People actually live there, but it feels more like it's kind of like a museum. The buildings there are very old. All kinds of really old farmhouses. No cars are allowed to drive there. So the whole vibe is very relaxed and the surroundings are just really, really beautiful. I don't even have to stay long in that village, right? I often just walk around a bit and visit some of the shops. Of course, we had to get our freshly baked stroopwafel. A stroopwafel is a very typical Dutch, very flat waffle with like a caramel in between. And especially when it's freshly baked and still warm, it's really, really good. Of course, in Orvelte you have this very tiny bakery where they sell freshly made stroopwafels. So we cannot visit that village without getting one of those. So another shop we visited was this little shop filled with stuffed animals and toys. And of course I had to get some stuff for myself. And I actually got 2 things there when visiting. This is a little wooden coal tit. And it's made of wood. It's very, very light, but I just really liked the details of this one. And it was insanely cheap, like €3 or something. So I was like, okay, why bother myself with forcing me to choose? Because this one was also like €3. And this is a blue tit. And I just really, really liked his little grumpy face. And this is made out of clay. So these are just really cute additions to my bookshelves at the moment. Now, my absolute favorite shop of all of Orvelte is a shop called the Flintenhof, which is basically a crystal and gem store. And it's so random to have this like old school museum-like village and then have this gem store there. And they have a beautiful collection and the prices are incredibly fair. So one of the reasons why I love to visit Orvelte is because of the Flintenhof. So of course I made a stop there and I got a few things. So the first one is this huge piece of something. And the bad thing is usually they give you a card with the name, but it was so insanely busy that they completely forgot, and I also was a little bit overwhelmed by that time. So I completely forgot to ask as well. It wasn't expensive at all, so I don't think it's a valuable gem at all. But I just absolutely loved the size, and I also always love when it really has this piece of stone still there. And then I love the point and all the little, I don't know if you can see in the worst lighting ever, but all the little details around. And I love this one so much. They had another piece of the same stone. And again, I'm so sorry for the bad lighting. I hope it's at least a little bit visible. But again, I loved all the little details and just the whole glimmer of it. Another piece I got was this beautiful piece of crystal. I really love the cloudiness of it. And again, also it's quite large. And I didn't have one this large yet, so really, really love this one as well. Then they also had all these display cases, and I got 3 little pieces from there. And again, I completely forgot to note or ask the names of these. But these weren't the only crystals I got in November. So there was a little bit more room and energy for fun in November. And one of the fun things I did was meeting up with a friend of mine for lunch in a town that also had a gem shop. So, of course, I had to pop in. Some other stuff that I did in November was kind of preparing our home a bit for the holidays and the darker months. I actually really don't mind winter, as long as it is cozy inside, right? I need a lot of lights and candles and just stuff to really cozy things up. And then I am a perfect happy little hermit. Being at home when it's dark and cold outside. So I got some of the lights out, as you can see, and I also got a few little things to brighten things up around my little studio. And one of the things was this lovely little home from a Dutch brand store called Dille and Camille, which is a really lovely store. They have a lot of beautifully made stuff, good quality stuff, durable stuff. And yeah, I just really love the details on this one. And you can place, of course, a little light in there and the windows will light up. And then from another brand store here in the Netherlands called Hema. I think it's also in the UK. Maybe you have a few Hema's. I don't know. But it's a very typically Dutch store as well. And I got this glass tree, Christmas tree. So these two kind of stand on my desk together, and I really love the effect. I was also crazy enough to paint our living room in November, which was one hell of a job, especially because we had to paint like 3 or 4 layers before it really stuck. I really hate painting walls, but I did it and I love the result, and let's never do it again. I hope it will stay for a long time. Let's move on to creative stuff. And I will start with a new fountain pen I got in November. This is a Twisby Diamond Mini. And I already have a Twisby Vac Mini, which is a vacuum filled pen. So I actually made a first impression video for this one at the beginning of this year. It's a really lovely pen. I eventually filled the Vac Mini with black ink because I took it with me to Greece when we went there in early October of this year. And I used it as my journaling pen. But I kind of missed having a pen ready to go with a different kind of color than black. And because I really like the size of this one, but I also wanted a diamond, I got this one. I actually for this one got the medium nib, because I noticed for Twisby pens that I think the fine is just a little bit too fine for my taste. The medium of the Twisby pen writes kind of the same as my go-to journaling pen, which is a Y Studio resin pen. This one has a fine nib, and I think this one writes perfectly. And the medium nib of the Twisby kind of writes the same way. I filled this Diamond Mini with this ink, Diamine, and this is the color Honey Burst. And I'll insert a clip of me writing with the pen. It's just a really warm orangey yellow kind of color. I really, really love it. That actually brings me to a little travel kit I put together because, like I said earlier, I have started a new job, and that new job requires me to travel a little bit more. So I actually created a little travel kit that I now can bring with me in the train when I have some thoughts or inspiration or whatever. I can use my little travel journal. This is a traveler's notebook by Galen Leather, and this is the passport size Galen Leather traveler's notebook in Crazy Horse Brown, if I'm not mistaken, with a mustard elastic and one of my favorite quotes: "The mountains are calling and I must go." I really love Galen Leather. They make amazing products. This little pen case is also by them, and this is just a great way to keep my notebook safe, keep everything together. When I throw it in my backpack, I can just take it with me easily. And I keep everything in this little bag by Dille and Camille, which I thought was just absolutely perfect for this little travel kit. Another little project for November. I actually came across my 2 little Norway travel journals. I brought this with me in Norway, and every day I just scribbled down quickly what we had been doing that day. And I also left room for pictures, but I never completed printing all of the pictures in these books. So that was another great little project for this month. And it was just so much fun going through all the pictures again. We had such an amazing time in Norway, and reliving those beautiful memories was just really, really good. And also just the thought that I actually wrote this in Norway and they came with me along for the ride. So these are 2 little booklets I will definitely treasure for many years to come. So next up is a little section on dolls. If you're not interested, please feel free to skip. I know this might just seem completely random, but I'm just having a lot of fun with dolls at the moment. So I thought I would just create a separate section for some doll stuff. I shared in my October video that I had gotten my first Blythe doll and that I was completely obsessed with creating a tiny wardrobe for her. I will, just for fun, once again show my first Blythe doll, although she looks a little bit differently than last time you saw her. The fun thing about Blythe dolls, for those who do not know, is that you can completely customize these dolls. You can take them apart basically and create your own little characters. You can also change the eyes. And of course you can customize the face, which is a insanely difficult process for me. I think it's really some sort of wizardry or something, because there's a lot of sanding involved, there's a lot of sculpting of the nose and the mouth, and then you have to paint everything, and add little details and freckles and shading and eyebrows, and I just, for me, it seems like a complete mission impossible. So this is a customized Blythe doll that I got on a second-hand website here in the Netherlands. What I did do, I did change the pull strings and I added some wooden and crystal beading. I created the skirt and the socks. I did the other day, for the first time, opened up her head and gave her a little scalp transplant by removing her old hair and giving her this new pink hair. I love that you can change things up, that you can just create these different characters with the hair, with the clothing and everything. So that's my first Blythe doll. But I also got another one. So this is the second Blythe that I got. Her shoes I also got second hand and did not make myself, but I did make her leggings. I made her a little pink dress, and this month in November I also created this coat for her. This is just such a lovely way to practice my sewing skills with my sewing machine. This has already taught me to create stuff with patterns, etc., that I never thought was possible. So I really love experimenting with new skills, learning new things, and maybe sometimes even surprising myself. You know, really trying to figure out something that seems absolutely impossible, trying to see how it works, and then being able to actually do it yourself. That's just a really cool process that I really enjoy, and I am still enjoying it. So maybe this doll thing will be a monthly thing in my videos. And I just wanted to share for now her lovely new coat. Next up is books. I'm still reading Girlstruck Island by Frances Hardinge. I already read her books Fly By Night and Twilight Robbery, which I really enjoyed. It is a young adult fantasy book and I absolutely love it. I still have a little bit left. I kind of had hoped to finish it in November, but hopefully this weekend I will be able to finish it. It's just a really quick-paced, lovely story. Frances Hardinge is really a writer I really admire and love. I love her writing style, I love her characters. I love how she is able to transport me into this whole different world within a few pages. I was really invested in this whole world she created. So I can't wait to find out how this story will end. In November I only got one new book, and it is part of the Library of Esoterica by Taschen, and it's the book on witchcraft. These are just really beautifully produced books, and I had it on my wish list for a while. Especially for books I will not read in the short term. I usually kind of put them on my wish list and come back to them every once in a while to see what the price is doing. And if the price is right, then I will add them to my little library here. I have not read it yet. I don't know if I will read this one cover to cover or if I will just grab it every once in a while. But I love the artwork, I love the photography, I love the research that has gone into this. It's just a really extensive book on the history of witchcraft. So yeah, that's the only new book I got in November, and it's Witchcraft by Taschen. Next up is tarot, and I actually feel like I'm in a pretty good place when it comes to my tarot collection. I've mentioned here before I'm doing this low buy year, which has completely failed, but it has succeeded in doing one thing. It has made me very aware of the reason behind buying stuff. It has made me very aware of my own behavior in that way, of buying stuff out of boredom or the need for instant gratification or that quick dopamine hit. And by being aware of that, it really made me more critical about the decks that I'm bringing into my home. It also helped to release some of the decks that I'm not using or that I am not really treasuring that much. And by releasing them back into the world, by selling them, by giving them away, by rehoming them, it really clears things up. And it has created a collection for me that really consists only of decks that I truly, truly treasure. And it's still a considerable collection, I think. I still have like 60 tarot and oracle decks or something. So there is a lot to choose from. There is a lot to go with every mood, with every season. And I love that. That is the reason why I have a collection of decks and not just one. So I'm at a good place. It means that some months I'm not buying any. And this was a month where suddenly a few did come in. First of all, I backed a Kickstarter, the Sleepwalker Tarot. I really love the colors on this one and the illustration style. I didn't even think about it that much. It was pretty clear from the start for me that this was one that I wanted to back. Also knowing that if I don't like it, I can always rehome it, right? That's just the ebb and flow of having a collection. The same creators did another Kickstarter a few months back called the Monsoon Tarot, and I also backed that one. And that one actually already came in November. So very, very quick delivery of this Kickstarter. I really appreciate the illustration style. This illustration style reminded me of Studio Ghibli, and that is the reason why I backed it in the first place. I don't really have anything like this in my collection yet, so I really, really appreciated that. Now the illustration style is not completely consistent throughout the whole deck. A lot of the minors don't have faces, which creeps me out a bit. There is a certain surrealism to this artwork, right? Sometimes it's almost like these dreamlike images, heavy fantasy influences, and then the absence of the faces. I do not know yet how to completely feel about this deck. I love the illustrations. I love the dreamlike images of the deck. It reminds me a little bit of the Cosmic Slumber Tarot in that way. But then again, sometimes the faces are completely missing. They are only halfway missing. So it's not the most consistent of decks. The booklet doesn't help at all. It's like really, really minimal. And another thing is that I hadn't really realized that the color scheme would be so incredibly lilac. Now, I don't mind lilac. It's a beautiful color, but it just goes on and on and on. It's like 78 shades of lilac, basically. Which is beautiful and it's fine, but I love it when decks show a little bit more variation. Preferably also with every suit having their own colors. I just really enjoy the use of colors that way. This has the danger of kind of all blending in together a little bit. As you can see, it's still in order. I have not used it yet. I'm not sure if this is a deck that I will use a lot, but I will definitely try it out and decide further down the line if it's a deck that I want to keep in my collection or I will pass on. But that was the Kickstarter of the Monsoon Tarot. Another new deck I got was a Compendium of Witches Oracle. This was actually a deck that has been released as an indie deck before and has now been picked up mass market by Los Carabeo, which is of course a great opportunity to acquire this deck. The backs are absolutely gorgeous. This is a beautifully illustrated deck that basically consists of 2 sets of cards. So there are 60 cards in the deck, 30 witches and 30 more general cards, tooling, symbols, etc. So the way that I have up until now worked with this deck is that I shuffle and pull from this stack of witches separately and then bring in some of the toolings and symbols. As you can see, the keywords are more like archetypes. But when you take a look in the guidebook, you do have keywords, you have a short description, and you have a little bit more of information about the witch. So yeah, this was a deck that had been on my wish list for a long time, but was very expensive to import when it came to the indie version. And I was so very happy to hear that this one was picked up mass market. And I was very happy to be able to try it out. So I really enjoyed this deck. And that's the Compendium of Witches Oracle. Let's move on to the last part of this video, which is journaling. As usual, I will share the cards that I pulled for the month of November. For the month of November, I pulled an oracle card from the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. I pulled the tarot cards from the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot. And then I pulled some clarifiers from the Spread Crafters Quest deck. And usually for my monthly spreads, I just pull a few cards and look at the story they tell together. But for this month, I asked a few specific questions. I pulled a card representing myself for the month of November and I pulled a star. I pulled a card for my focus for the month of November and I pulled the Fool. And then I asked what I should avoid. And I pulled the Queen of Candles. Now the star and the Fool card have been following me around these past couple of months. And I can very easily explain why. The star represents the hope for the future that comes with change. And the Fool was a very spot on card to pull for November. I will be starting a job where I have a lot left to learn. So for a new start, this is the perfect card to pull. The Queen of Candles I pulled as the card to represent the thing that I should avoid. And I really loved what the guidebook said about this card. Have you been giving too much attention to the opinions of others? Don't stifle your ideas and lose your voice. Make time for a bit of soul searching and express yourself. Don't worry what others may think. You have so much to offer. And that was such a great reminder for me. Starting something new is scary, and there can be a lot of insecurities involved. So I love the message of just don't. Don't be insecure. Don't focus on everything you do not know. Focus on the things you do know. And see everything else as a lesson to learn. Something that you are more than capable of. You got this. And that's it. Those were my favorite things from the month of November. I hope you enjoyed my random ramblings. And I hope this video wasn't too long or chatty or boring or whatever. I had a lot of fun sharing my favorite things with you. Feel free to like, subscribe, or let me know in the comments what your favorite things from November were. And I hope to see you next time. Bye!